Welcome to Accounting High.
What has surprised me is that clients want you to push them and to make things uncomfortable and to have the hard conversation. Because you as an outsider, it's easier for you to do, right? You're not a member of the day-to-day team.
You're not as emotionally invested.
No, you have more of an objective viewpoint, and you are speaking from an objective part of the business, which is the numbers, right? You're not the head of people or the head of marketing and sales. You're leading the finance function.
Having that objective perspective is very important as an advisor.
May I have your attention, please?
OKR is in the house. OKR is in the house. Accounting High. From cloud accountancy way back to desktop accounting advisory and tech apps adopt, and we lean back and nod because the class is about to start at Accounting High. Scotty, OKR. Accounting High.
Introducing the star of our show.
Scotty and Swaggy P.
We're gonna have a problem here.
All right, class is in session. Students, you're in for a treat. We got Rev Swaggy P with me here today. I call him Rev Swaggy P, kind of a shout out to Reverend Run, and you'll hear why he's Rev Swaggy P in a minute. But his real name, his real ego, not his alter ego, is Mr. Paul Seaton. Paul, are you a CPA too?
I am a CPA. It took a long time to get there, but I do have those letters behind my name now.
So we'll say CFO, CPA, Paul Seaton, agency CEO, if you want to look up his practice. Paul, you're coming to me live from Wichita?
Wichita, yeah, the heart of flyover country. Don't forget about us.
Don't forget about Wichita. Don't write off Wichita. Well, Paul might be writing your stuff off. Paul, introduce yourself to our students here.
Yeah, Scott, well, it's great to be here. I know it's been a long time coming. Thanks for having me on, man. I love what you're doing in this space. There's a lot of people that have come on this show that I certainly look up to. So I'm lucky to be here today. Yeah, so started my practice full time a little less than 18 months ago. As you mentioned, I run agency CFO. We do outsourced CFO and accounting work for marketing and digital creative agencies.
You could have had 2 kids in that time frame. How many kids do you have?
I've got 3 kids under 5. Yeah, so
3
it's
kids under 5. Yeah. Did you have one of those kids while you owned your practice? Or are they all over 2 years old?
Yeah, my youngest she'll be 2 in April. So when I started, she was 5 months old. Genevieve was 5 months. Yeah.
Okay.
Wife has stayed at home full time the last 5 years. So yeah, it was a little bit of a risk leaving the cush W-2 job to start my practice. But as far as I know, my mortgage just is still being paid, and here we are. So.
All right. Well, we'll get there. We'll get to the present, but let's start with the past. Let's talk about how you got here. And why don't you share with our listeners a little bit how you got into accounting? Because from what I understand, that's not what you went to school, and that's not what you set out to be.
That's right. So I originally went to school because I thought I was going to be a Catholic priest, believe it or not. So I grew up in New Mexico.
Is that a Catholic priest? Is a reverend too? Like Reverend?
Reverend, yeah, father, yeah. Reverend. If you ever see like a priest name on a document, it's REV, Rev.
Okay.
Yeah, so I grew up in a devout Catholic family, big family, one of 7 kids. My parents' deal was that, hey, we'll help you pay for college if you go to a good Catholic school. Saw my older siblings do that. And I had a really awesome Catholic priest who was involved in my life growing up. And he just had a joy and like a fervor of life about him that I really wanted. I was like, man, Father Rick he's the happiest dude. And quite simply, I just wanted that. I was like, well, I guess you got to be a priest if you want to be as happy as someone like Father Rick. So I went to school at a little school called Benedictine College in Atchison, Kansas. It's a little sleepy town about an hour north in Kansas City. And yeah, studied theology, quickly
I don't know how many jokes I can make about Catholic priests here, like on air. I guess I could or I couldn't.
No, not at all. And so I went to study theology. I always kind of had a knack for business. My dad was an entrepreneur. He ran his own consulting practice growing up. And that's what I saw. Like, dad worked out of the house, and he was always there for my basketball games and my football games.
What type of consulting?
He was a private lender. So he had a background in commercial banking and then opened his own private lending practice, 30 years ago. And so what my dad said, look, if you want to go into business and do what I do, you should go become a CPA. Like, that's the fast track to grow your business career. And so once I realized that I didn't want to be a priest, which meant I got to college and realized how many beautiful women there were on campus, I said, I'm not sure if this priesthood thing is for me. So I took the practical advice and switched my major to accounting and finance.
You did say that your wife was the reason you did not become a priest. So you can thank her for that.
Yes. Shout out to my beautiful wife, Annie.
The accounting community can thank her for that too, then, right?
That's right. So,
and I guess the Catholic Church can also thank her for that too, because you didn't become a priest. So they may not be thanking you, but there you go. So
for the best, certainly.
Yeah, for the best. So you ended up actually pivoting. It's a pretty big pivot to go from but is it? Is it that big of a pivot? Let's talk about some similarities too as we go in being a teacher and an educator to your clients and helping them versus to your parish. In a way, some of these might be similar.
Totally, yeah. I've had a number of people tell me that if I wasn't in business, they could see me as a therapist, believe it or not. I know my mom's told me that. A few other people have told me that as well. And that's kind of what we do as accountants and advisors, right? We listen to our clients and try to solve their problems. But it all has to start from kind of a disposition of listening and seeking to understand before giving any sort of guidance and wisdom. And so in a way, I guess you could say it was a little bit of a natural pivot in terms of where I'm at now in my career. I'm not just a pure accountant. I kind of lead with the CFO service. So
ushering a new era for some CPAs. But as you were in school, as you were learning, what did you set out to do? What were the possibilities for you as a CPA, as a young CPA? Because I don't get too many guests on that actually set out to do this. This was your first pivot, essentially, is CPA accounting, right?
Yeah, and in terms of launching my own practice, Scott, it's funny. I kind of stumbled into it. So I was fortunate enough to get a job at Deloitte right out of school. I went and worked in their audit practice in Kansas City, where I audited a big telecommunications company that has since merged with another big telecom company. I won't use their names, but if you could think of the biggest merger to happen in the last 5 years in the US, I was kind of in the crosshairs of that. And a friend of mine was running a video production and social media marketing agency in Nashville. And he said, hey, dude, I know you're a CPA. I'm not thrilled with my bookkeeper. Could you do my books? And it was at that time, this was like, 18 months into my life as a public accountant at Deloitte, that I discovered the world of cloud and QuickBooks Online. I didn't know that existed. And then he just said, yeah, I just have to give you my login and you can do everything from Kansas City. And so that's when I discovered that there was this whole world of cloud accounting and serving clients remotely, that I got into the cloud accounting space.
Ooh, yep. But that was exciting. And you're also doing it for somebody that was in a new field too, social media. Like, what was this job? What was he doing? Was he like influencer, or he was working with like marketing, social media marketers?
They're primarily a video production company.
A video production, okay.
Yeah, and then they take the content that they produce and will put it up and manage their clients' social channels.
Is this still a client today, or was this just cracking open the door?
Yeah, so that was, 6 years ago. They're still a client today, believe it or not. I was at their Christmas party 4 weeks ago. They'll probably do a little over $4 million in revenue this year. At that time, they had just topped out at $300K the year that I came on. So it's been fun to be a part of their growth journey these last 6 years. Yep.
How did you view doing this work in the beginning? Did you look at it like a CFO, like somebody that was going to help them grow? Like, what was, as a young reverend, I'm going to still call you reverend, as a young rev here, what was it like to look at the financials at that stage?
Yeah, so
you were
back
still
then,
an employee at Deloitte at the time, right?
I was.
You were kind of
this
doing
is
this on the
something.
side? Okay.
doing on the nights and the weekends, I mean, I was fumbling through YouTube videos trying to learn how to reconcile a bank account. Because in your day-to-day as an auditor, you're not doing day-to-day accounting, right? So
No,
I was kind
auditors
of
are looking
learning.
behind. They're next
Totally.
in the rear
Yeah.
view.
So I was learning like how to work bank feeds and reconcile credit cards and bank accounts. For the first year or two, it was pure play bookkeeping. And then they started asking questions about, hey, where should we spend money? And when can we hire? And how much should we pay ourselves? And I didn't understand the delineation between bookkeeping and advisory then. It was like, okay, well, I guess I'll Google this. And so I was just trying to find as much content as I could to advise his client appropriately because they had no one else. And that relationship naturally evolved into accounting plus advisory. And then that's when I decided, okay, I'm going to go work at a firm that can kind of teach me the ropes of how this stuff really works, which is where I went.
Well, what about the content that you found back then? You were searching and you actually found some stuff that led you in the right direction. What type of content was that? Who was producing it? Do you remember?
It was a podcast. There were a couple. So Marcel Petitpas, the guys at Parakeeto, that was super influential. They have the agency profitability podcast, I believe it's called. And then the team at Summit CPA Group, they had a podcast where they really dove deep into agency profitability metrics. And I was just eating that stuff up as much as I could.
They still do have great content out there. Shout out to our callback a few episodes with Jody that we've had. You can go back and check those out. Jody's usually the speaker for Summit, or he's typically the one out there sharing that content. And that kind of led you to then now I need to go work somewhere and figure this stuff out. Did you go somewhere with that in mind that you were going to be a CFO and somebody that would be doing that? Or did you still apply to this job as an accountant?
My wife has told me, she said, Paul, you are so stubborn in the best ways. I don't see you having a boss forever. I think part of that came from my dad. He never had a boss, right? He ran his own consulting gig growing up. So whether it was conscious or subconscious, I probably knew deep down, I'm going to end up doing my own thing because I don't like being told what to do, which has its pros and its cons. So I ended up going to work at Summit, learned a ton there, got to work with a bunch of amazing agencies, and really got to dive under the hood about just what are the day-to-day problems that agencies are dealing with beyond just the financials, right? Because that's how you can really be an effective advisor if you understand their business problems. And so, yeah, learned a ton at Summit, learned how agencies work, learned that they function a lot like accounting firms. They can be a little bit of a roller coaster. Yep.
Tell me one of the first things you learned as you were working there. First, if I could synthesize some of it, you learned that making content is very valuable, not only to the agency owners, but to other accountants, because you were out there consuming some of their content beforehand. And they're one of the few people, especially then, putting out content.
100%. Yeah. I think, too, not only is content helpful for client acquisition, but also talent acquisition, which was the case for Summit, right? Like I was in the background, not really engaging with their content, but consuming it. And, when I got on the interview with Jamie and the team, I felt like I was talking to celebrities, people who had already taught me so much. And I felt spoiled rotten that I got to go work for them.
Yeah. So they created the opportunity for you in a lot of ways. But I want to hear some of your interactions because this is a virtual firm that you're working for. They were doing things very different compared to most other CPA firms. They were sort of the pioneers. I like to say they're, one of the OGs of this rap game of running a practice. That's what I say, learning how to rap in our forthcoming book. So tell me some of the other things you learned there as you got the privilege to work for some of these rock stars, rap stars.
Yeah, I think the biggest overall takeaway that I had, Scott, was the framework for how to have effective meetings with clients. I think sometimes as people try to venture into the advisory space, it's like, okay, advisory, like, what do I do? And what Summit taught me is it's totally overwhelming, particularly for accountants who can be more introverted and maybe introspective. But they gave me a framework for how to structure and lead client meetings. They have the results call meeting, they have their sales pipeline meeting, they have their cash flow meeting, they have their forecast meeting. They have there's a very dialed in method to the madness where you can uncover a lot of business problems and help them solve a lot of business problems through kind of a methodical framework that I see very few firms kind of exercise. And so that was very helpful for me in learning how to effectively deliver advisory services. Because what it does, not only does it make you feel like you're in control and like know what lane you need to stand, but it also, I think, enhances the client experience, right? The client
feels taken care of, and they don't feel like they're on this runaway train journey of, oh, everything's possible, and here's all the things that we can do, here's all the things we're going to do. This is strictly, this is this meeting, and this is the focus of the meeting, this is what we're going to talk about. And then you've created a cadence for that too. So tell me, in a way, how often were you meeting with your clients, and how did this cadence switch up? Like, was it one focus for the whole meeting, and then the next one you're talking about something else?
Yeah. So the beautiful thing about this meeting structure, there's a framework for it, right? But every framework has flexibility to it. So we might spend the first half of a call talking about the month-end financial results, but then the beauty of it is that leads to organic conversation about what's actually going on in the business, right? So first half of the call, there's a subject you're going to talk about, whether it's cash flow or month-end results or the forecast, but that naturally leads you to discuss strategic decisions and things going on in the business that they need to look at through a financial lens, right? So, I always kind of had a knack for entrepreneurship. Since I am an entrepreneur, I like to think about things holistically. Like, okay, you had a $20,000 loss or a 20% loss this month. What led to that, right? Just asking good questions can lead to really good conversations and really helpful outcomes for your clients that transcend the just delivering the data and the information.
So there isn't necessarily even a plan for the entire call too, but it's a plan of what questions you're going to ask, or knowing which questions to ask when reviewing and listening to the client. You have to be a good listener. Is that right?
Yes, you have to be a good listener, and you have to be willing, particularly in your role as a consultant, to push the boundaries of the hard conversations, right? I've had a number of conversations with prospects over the last few months where they'll say, I'm working with the CFO, but they're not hard enough on me, right? And when it comes to advisory services, what has surprised me is that clients want you to push them and to make things uncomfortable and to have the hard conversation, because you as an outsider, it's easier for you to do, right? You're not a member of the day-to-day team.
You're not as emotionally invested.
No, you have more of an objective viewpoint, and you are speaking from an objective part of the business, which is the numbers, right? You're not the head of people or the head of marketing and sales. You're leading the finance function.
Having that objective perspective is very important as an advisor. Give me an example of one of these difficult conversations you may have had recently with a client. How did they receive it? How did you approach it?
Yeah, so there have been several that I've had as of late. Yeah, I had a conversation recently with a smaller agency. They have, I think, 11 employees. They're very efficient in their delivery margin, right? So if someone works a billable hour, there's great margin on that billable hour, but have a very big leadership team. And so their leadership team is making up 40% of their entire cost structure. And they're sitting here wondering, man, our delivery team is well utilized, they're efficient, they're staying within budget, but we're not making any damn money. It's like, guys, well, look, the issue is sitting on this call. Like everyone on this call is expensive, you're not billable, and we have too many people on the leadership team to drive the margin that we want to have, right? And it's like, oh man, like I hadn't thought about that. That's a tough conversation, right? Because the issue that the business is facing is sitting right in front of you.
You're speaking to the issue, and you called it out too. And now everybody knows they are the problem on that call. One of them may have to go. What was the outcome of this conversation?
Yeah, so thankfully, no headcount did not have to be reduced, but we were able to establish a very clear roadmap in terms of where they had to get from a sales standpoint before they could add to their leadership team. Because before this conversation, they said, hey, we want to add a head of sales and marketing. Like, well, look, we don't have, like, our leadership team is already too big. And so someone from this call, if we want to keep everyone, is going to have to step in that role until we get to a certain point from a sales standpoint. And it's objective, right? It's not like picking favorites or I'm saying it has to be this way. It's just all numbers driven. But you can give a human voice and a human perspective to it that's objective. Yeah.
Yeah, you had no hidden agenda to make that call either. There was no second guessing. You were just stating the facts, and that's very keen. Let's go back to this journey of building your own firm and starting out. So you learned a lot. Summit trained you well. Young
Absolutely.
pastor
Yeah.
in training, young reverend in training, young CEO in training, CFO. How long did you stay there, and then how did you dive out on your own? Because that can be scary. A lot of accountants, they don't take that leap. They prefer to stick with a position that's paying them and it's stable and they're making a check, they're making money, and they're doing what feels right. You, on the other hand, you were not necessarily always looking backwards and doing just the accounting work. You were actually helping people grow and helping people. You were one of the CFOs on their team.
But I was a senior accountant. Yeah. So I was about to be promoted before I left, but I still had my client on the side at that time. Summit was gracious enough to let me keep that client. So I was still serving kind of as their CFO, but I got
So
to
that was
sit.
your training was that one client basically that you had.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, I got to sit on a lot of calls with CFOs, and to Summit's credit, they let their seniors give input with clients. They want your perspective. Like, you're not expected to just be a pure play accountant at Summit, which is really neat about their model.
They were hoping to have trained you to be able to do that because that's also where they would get their talent. I mean, I would assume that they're hoping to transfer or convert some accountants into CFOs. That's what's hard. That's what I find is hard, is either they don't want to ask the questions, they want all the answers in front of them. I mean, tell me, how hard was this for you as an individual? You seem like somebody that's pretty comfortable in front of people or even in a sales situation. Am I assuming that correctly?
Yeah, I would say I'm a little bit of an atypical accountant in that respect. Like, I love people. I don't love doing like the day-to-day accounting work. I actually just hired a senior accountant, and I've been a little embarrassed because I'm like, man, she is such a better accountant than me. Like, she's taught me more about accounting than I knew, which has been awesome. It's kind of confirmed like, oh man, maybe I am better in this advisor role. That's kind of where I naturally have a bent toward. But yeah, so I stayed at Summit for about a year. This was during COVID. And then a position opened up here in Wichita, where I'm based. I was kind of tired of working from home. As we talked about, I had a young growing family, and it was a lot. It was hard, to work 8 to 5 each day with little kids running around. And so I wanted to work outside the house, went and worked at Koch Industries here in Wichita, which was awesome. Got to be part of their investments group.
That's not Coca-Cola. That's like Koch brothers, right?
Koch brothers, yeah, Koch.
Yeah, not Coca-Cola.
I got to stand behind Charles Koch several times in the Koch cafeteria and watch him pay for his lunch with cash, which was kind of funny. Yeah, so did that, worked on their financial reporting team for about a year. And mind you, this whole time I still had that client on the side, loved it. And they were trying to send me referral work, but I was kind of burning the candle at both ends between my day job, my side client, and having a young family. And so there just came a point where I had to kind of pick a path, and demand was growing enough with my side hustle to where I could leave comfortably and have some income and make it on my own.
Sure. So you ended up going out on your own, doing the thing.
Welcome to Accounting High.